said, my name is Marthe Levan, and I'll be speaking today with Grainne Morton, who is one of the most magnificent jewelers I think I've ever been in contact with as a person and as an artist. So thank you for spending some of your Saturday with us in conversation, and thank you for organizing this opportunity. Briefly, this is a huge, huge year for Grainne. 2020 marks her 25th anniversary of Grainne Morton Jewelry, which big round of applause for that. That's quite an extraordinary career. It's also her 20th wedding anniversary with Ian Sutherland. They've been together 30 years this year, and it's her 50th birthday. So all of these remarkable milestones happened in 2020. So that's something I definitely feel like is worth celebrating, and I'm thrilled to do that on a journey with her today. The first time I encountered Grainne's work in person, it stopped me completely in my tracks. And I've seen a lot of jewelry over my career, and there's not that many things that grab your heart and won't let go. And so I was walking the aisles at an incredibly large trade show at the Javits Center, if you've ever experienced one of those. And I came across the, I think it was the British Crafts Council, yes?
Yeah.
It's actually
British, yeah, it's not the Crafts Council, it's a company in Birmingham, but yeah, it's a British group.
Yeah. So, so the first time I saw her, I just couldn't believe my eyes. I was so drawn to it in my heart. It spoke so much on a aesthetic level and an emotional level to me. And I knew I was in the presence of something incredibly special. Then when I saw it for the second time, I knew I had to live with it, and I had to live with it and welcome it into my life as a major part of my life and my professional life as the owner of Moore Jewelry in Asheville. So it taught me a very valuable lesson about being a retailer in jewelry, is to always listen to your instincts, to always trust your gut, and to curate a collection with a very, very strong point of view. Because if you're passionate about what you're seeing, that passion cannot help but be conveyed to your clients. So that was one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last 8 years of being a retailer. And I think that more is for the better because of it. And we're much thankful to that first experience with Grainne for that. Now, that's enough of an introduction for me. On to the star of the show, Ms. Grainne Morton. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Marthe. It's been nice seeing you a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
it has been great preparing for this with you. Yes. So if you don't know, Grainne is in Edinburgh, where she's lived. Where have you lived? How long have you lived there?
I have lived here since 1988, so 32 years. So I came here to study at Edinburgh College of Art, but I had lots of, I spent an awful lot of time in Edinburgh since a very little girl, because my uncle, my dad's brother, lives here, and my aunt, and we spent every summer and Christmas together, and hung out a lot. My aunt's a glass engraver, so yeah, it was part of growing up and part of my creative journey, really, having family in Edinburgh, and that's what brought me to the art college here.
Oh, wonderful!
So, yeah, that was way back. 88.
So how do you feel? You've lived in Edinburgh longer than in Ireland?
Yeah. I left Ireland at 18. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's you're more Scottish than Irish now, or you feel this?
I still very much feel Irish. I think when you're Irish, it just I'm very proud to be Irish. So yeah, I still very much feel Irish, but yeah, I've spent obviously an awful lot more time here, but yeah, I still feel very Irish.
So your jewelry to me feels very regal, but also very rebellious in its nature. Can you tell me what it was like growing up a little bit in Northern Ireland in the 70s?
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, it was the height of the Troubles, which was like such a like dreadful, shocking time. But I was really lucky in that I was really sheltered from it. And my parents were both from Lurgan and Portadown in Northern Ireland, which was actually really quite bad at the height of the Troubles. So I lived there till I was about 7 years old, and then they moved us up to the coast because they just wanted to get us away from that tension. So I grew up from 7 till I left at 18 in this coast, the northwest coast, a town called Grainne, which was like a market town, but very close to the coast. So you know that everybody's into, I've never watched it, I have to be honest, Game of Thrones. Well, Game of Thrones, a lot of it's filmed around that coast, and a little harbour that we used to spend so much time in, Ballantoy Harbour. A lot of Game of Thrones is filmed there, and we would picnic there, you know, in the summertime, just eating salad out of a picnic box, chips we bought on the way, and just watching this incredible landscape and the waves sort of crash against these beautiful walls and this really old harbour. And yeah, it was very idyllic childhood in that we just had, you know, miles and miles of beautiful coast around us. It was very picturesque, very beautiful. Yeah, it was. So even though I was brought up at the height of the Troubles, it didn't affect me. It didn't affect my life.
Yes.
So yeah, I just got involved. I was quite an imaginative kid and creative kid, so I'd just be making and drawing and outside a lot.
It sounds like a rich place with a lot of visual inspiration.
Yeah, an awful lot. Yeah, an awful lot. Very beautiful.
So, getting towards the side when you became a jeweler, a full-time professional maker, right now, your journey has hardly been an overnight success. Can you share a little bit of your early history as a maker before kind of the fashion media went wild for you?
Yeah. So I've been really lucky. I've solely made my living since I've left college making jewelry. So I've been really lucky in that I haven't had to get a job to subsidize my income. I think I was very fortunate that when I came out of college so I graduated in 1992 with a BA honours degree, and then I stayed on a year to do a postgraduate. And then I went over to Ireland actually to live for a year and did a business design skills course that was run by the Crafts Council of Ireland. I did that in Kilkenny. And then I came back to Edinburgh. I'd thought about moving back to Ireland to live, but by that point I'd met Ian. And even though we'd broken up for a little while, we couldn't bear being apart. So we got back together, and I made a decision to come and set up in business here. So that was around 94. Then in 95, I applied for a grant from it was then Creative Scotland. No, sorry, it was then Craft. What was it? The Scottish Arts Council. It's now Creative Scotland. So I got a startup grant, which is like such a privilege to be able to get, you know, a decent amount of money to buy equipment and materials just to get started in business. So it was all very organic. After leaving college, we got an opportunity to exhibit at a show called what was it called? Business Design. New Designers. It was New Designers at the Business Design Centre in Islington, London. So whenever I graduated in 92, and then again from a postgraduate in 93, I was able to exhibit my work in that show. With all the new graduates, and their, you know, galleries would come along and they'd want to take you on board their gallery, and that's how my career started. Just going to these shows, galleries taking me on, and just bit by bit selling pieces and putting the money back into the business, and yeah, just growing very organically. And then in 1996, I did my first Chelsea Crafts Fair. My Chelsea Crafts Fair was this amazing craft show that happened in the King's Road, the Chelsea Town Hall in the King's Road, and it was just wonderful for my career. It happened once a year in October. It ran over 2 weeks. There were different exhibitors each week, And that show was just, it was so successful that you could plan your whole year financially around that show. You get enough income to sort of really, you know, make things good financially for the entire year. And it was then that I met the buyers from Barney's. So I started selling to Barney's around 2000. And yeah, just I had lots of success with that. I was just selling mainly to galleries, but I was getting my foot in the door with the sort of bigger fashion stores and just selling really well and you know, making a decent living. But then it all changed because I had children. And when I had my children, they were obviously my priority, and I worked very much around them. And Ian was the sole provider really for the family, whereas I was sort of dabbling in the background. I worked the entire time, but I found it really hard to make a living at that stage because I was, you know, doing school runs and nursery runs and all these, you know, and looking after my children. And then the market changed. It was this. So I had my first child in 2004. And yeah, there was lots of changes. Like galleries started shutting down. The economy was in difficulty, and yeah, I sort of feel by the time my kids got to school age, I almost had to start again, because everything had changed so much. But actually, looking back, how everything's worked out for me has been the best path for me, because now I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I'm working more with sort of independent shops and galleries like yourselves, and then big stores like Liberty in London and Modo Operandi, the online platform, just bigger conglomerates. And yeah, I'm doing exactly what I want to do now. But if I hadn't had all the experience I'd had early on, I don't think I could cope with this level of success we're having at the moment.
Wow, that's fascinating to hear that little kind of restart you had to make kind of mid-career through when your priorities naturally changed with your life. Was there a singular event or accomplishment along that path that you're particularly proud of?
Well, there's a couple. The first time my work got into Vogue magazine, that was a really special moment. I've always loved clothes and style, not so much fashion. I don't really want, and I do love high fashion, but I prefer more style and how you, I mean, I just think it's like a uniform to me. I can express myself the way I dress. So yeah, getting into Vogue, because I've bought the magazine since I was like a teenager, was a really special moment. So I've kept the box that they sent the samples back as a sort of little souvenir of the moment that happened. And also my career really, it was, my career did literally sort of blow up overnight. It was summer of 2017. There was rumblings, I could see things happening and I could see a shift, but it just went boom overnight. And it was the summer of 2017. I was doing New York Now, and yeah, it just went crazy.
Because that's the same year that we started working together as well.
Yes, yeah.
So everything just started back.
Oh, it was just
back in 2017.
Yeah,
even though we've been working at it for 20 years.
Well, yeah, 20 years. Yeah, I know, crazy.
Crazy. So now that your work is in such high demand, how have you, because you've always made everything to order by yourself, right? In your studio.
Yeah. Up till then, yeah.
And people don't realize that you had been a one person, one artist operation, which I think is.
Yeah. I mean, before the children were born, I did have a part-time maker in a couple of days a week. And then after the kids were born, I didn't. And then when things started to escalate, I did employ somebody again. But it was only very much part-time. And so yeah, that after 2017, it was like, I mean, it literally was, how am I going to get, because I was at New York Now taking orders, and I was really, really terrified how I was going to make all this work, you know, because it was not possible for me and my part-time maker to do. So yeah, things had to shift really quickly. And also I was very nervous that I realized that I was going to have to make less and less and less. And I wasn't sure how comfortable I felt with that, because I thought I really loved making, but actually, and I've handed all the making over to our outworkers, and I actually don't miss it. Even I can still dabble, but I actually really love designing. I love creating. I love collaging with my materials. That's my favorite thing to do. So, and I just love keeping going with that. And yeah, so having the making done by our makers is really helpful to my process, my creativity.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So, how has COVID changed how you shifted your business, or how are you adapting your business, because we aren't able to travel and be with each other?
Yeah, I've been really lucky in COVID in that I think before it happened, we were inundated. We had like a waiting list we had to stop taking orders with so many orders. So we got through a backlog of orders. I hadn't done the show that New York. So New York now is my main show that I do. That's where I take most of my orders out with people getting in contact with us privately. So I hadn't done February because I'd taken time off to celebrate my birthday, which I hadn't celebrated for 7 years because it always falls when New York Now is on. So I was always working. So and so I'd taken that show off, and then all of a sudden we've got COVID. We get to March, April, and we're locked in. We're in lockdown. So I worried about a bit, but realistically, we had quite a lot of work to keep going, and nobody canceled. Well, actually, one person cancelled an order, and that was it. So we'd worked to keep us going. And all my workers don't work here; they work in their own spaces. So they were all able to keep working. We just were posting things back and forth, or they were coming to the doorstep and we were handing stuff 2 meters away. It was quite funny. And as far as orders were concerned, obviously there was a period where it went quite quiet, but by May, June, people were starting to order again. And we've actually taken on quite a lot of new clients during this period. We've got, like, even in the last month, we've taken on our very first stockist in China, which is exciting. We haven't made the order yet, but we've taken it. So yeah, we've expanded, that we've taken, and we took on a lot more new outlets in Europe. So yeah, and Canada actually as well. So yeah, we've just been really lucky. People have come to us, they're looking for something different, and we've been really lucky, and we're really grateful for that.
Yeah, oh, that sounds wonderful. Mm-hmm. Has your creative practice changed? Can you tell me a little bit about how you work in your studio, and if this current climate has changed how you approach your bench?
It's not really changed, because I used to get up for all my pieces. I used to pick them up from antique fairs and things like that. But whenever I started to make the trade, I've got to be able to repeat designs. So I need to be able to get several of one component for each pair of earrings or whatever. So I now have to be able to buy those things, in bulk, realistically. So I've got suppliers that I now go to get things, to find things, so I could still do that. So that's not a problem. The only change we made in this period was, unfortunately, the gold platers we used to use weren't able to plate for us, and we were just still getting orders out every week. So we needed a gold plater. So we found one, luckily, that was still able to work during that time. And it's been a really great move, because this gold plater plates in Fairmount gold. So ethically, that's a lot better for our business. So that was a really happy accident of COVID.
Sure. Since we're kind of focusing on business here and operating as a jeweler and coming up with a successful brand, I was wondering, with this fabulous 25-year career in jewelry, what kind of conversation you would have with your younger self, who might be just starting out, and what kind of advice or guidance or encouragement you would give yourself?
I think just to have confidence and belief in yourself, and what you said earlier on, just to go with your gut. And that goes for life and as well. I think just going with your gut instinct is the best way to go. I would also say not to be fearful, and one thing that I'm really realizing at the moment and throughout my career is you've got to take risks. You've got to take risks in life, and not to be, just not to be fearful of taking them, and just trust your instinct and go for it. But one thing I will say is that I've never, I'm saying take risks, but as far as the financial side of the business, I've grown this business really organically. I haven't taken loans. I haven't gone in debt to start up. I built it up sale by sale and grew things like that. And there's a you again. So yeah, I think that's really important. Just slowly but surely grow things. Don't grow too fast. Just make it really slow and steady, so that you can cope with all the changes that happen along the way.
I think I would say that I've grown my business in a very similar path. I mean, I think that, risk, but not too many risks.
Yeah.
Very organic. And so you can remain authentic to who you are, and to give an accurate representation of what your contribution is to the field, I think.
Totally.
Definitely. I think slow growth is the best growth.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and it was really scary for me because it did literally go crazy overnight, but we managed. I mean, it was at that point I was doing all the shipping myself still. I was doing so many things, like communication with all our stockists, we built a new website around that time. I mean, it was crazy. I didn't get much sleep around that time, and I had to work weekends. That's one thing I'll say as well. In order to be successful, you can't be afraid of putting in hard work. I've worked extraordinarily hard over the years. I've put in real blood, sweat, and tears. And anybody who knows me, that I'm pretty obsessed with this business. It's like my life. And I think in order to make it, you have to be really realistic that you've got to work anti-social hours. You've just got to work extraordinarily hard if you want to succeed.
That's so true. I mean, I often say, oh, it's my day off, but never are you really off. I mean, it's 24/7 to run that business, and to, keep ahead of things and keep all the balls in the air at once.
So, and especially with phones these days, you've always got like somebody message you about something. So you're always on, but it's such a privilege, and I'm so grateful to do something that I love. It's like an extended hobby. It's wonderful.
Yes, I could not agree more.
Well, and during this, sorry to interrupt, but during this time, how wonderful, like when everything's locked down, you can't go out, you can't see anybody. It's been so comforting to be able to work, Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we have, it looks like maybe 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Do you want to cover anything else that we didn't cover? Is there anything you wanted to bring up? Not to put you terribly on the spot. But
I know.
What's coming up in the future for you? What's the next iteration?
Well, we're building, so I work from home. I've always worked from home. That's really important to me because my kids are still, they're growing up, but they still need their mom and their dad. And my husband's joined the business now, so he came in full time last year. So yeah, anyway, we work from home. This is my workshop. It's a utility room in our house. It's tiny. So that's another thing. That's the wonderful thing about being a jeweler. You can really work anywhere because you don't need very much space. But saying that, because the business has grown, we do need more space just to get our materials out and design. And yeah, so we're building a workspace in the garden, which like a garden office at the moment, which is exciting. That should be up and running by spring. And I've also employed a workshop manager recently to help me with production, and just communication, so that I can design more. So I'm looking forward to next year designing lots of new pieces. I want to do more one of a kind pieces, and I want to do some fine jewelry as well.
Oh, so, yeah. That's exciting. So that sounds wonderful. It really does.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been such a funny year.
Some space to move out on and stand in.
Yeah,
that's really wonderful.
Yeah, and probably find some treasures that are hiding away. And because I've got everything in drawers, but I tend to use similar materials all the time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having space to sort of spread everything out and see what I can come up with.
I can't imagine what you must find when you do get that opportunity to spread things out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You're quite the collector, yes?
Oh, totally. And also, not just in jewelry. I'm a bit of a hoarder and a collector for sure.
Well, but it's been wonderful talking with you today. I think,
You
Alex,
too.
are we